Good evening. Welcome to the latest live edition of Last Bell Boxing, proudly sponsored by LW Lifting Limited, the place to go for all your construction logistics needs. Joined by regular Daz. Good evening, Daz.
All right, mate.
And also joined by Ando, who's having a bit of a mare tonight. So, Ando, how you going?
Yeah, I'm having a bit of a nightmare. Technical issues.
So moving on swiftly. So Andy's having a few audio issues. So if there's a bit of a delay, it's not that he's ignoring everybody or ignoring your questions. It's just that he needs to listen really quiet there. So let's get on to the first topic. Obviously, AJ at the weekend, victory over Elenius. We'll let Andy break this down first. So Andy,
are we just talking about the AJ card here, or AJ fight, or are we going to talk about some of the other fights on the undercard?
Well, I was just going to go with AJ, but feel free to pick up some of the undercard afterwards. Let's start with AJ first, though.
Right, okay.
So, break it down.
So, you got to give AJ props for taking Elenius out, but there's more questions than answers for me. I think AJ's still scared to get it. I think his footwork was loads better. I don't want to slate him because he did what was needed. But here's the thing for me. Elenius was there to be taken out in the first round. He was wide open. AJ could have landed that shot in the first round, but he didn't. And he didn't do it for 6 rounds. You know, why didn't he do it? I don't know. He could have. He was trying to close the gap. He was trying to get a bit closer, but his coach Derek James was imploring him to do that from round 1. And he I think at one point in the fight he said, I can land the jab, but I can't land the right hand because he wasn't in range. He wasn't close enough. And I don't know whether it just took him 6 rounds to realise how close he needed to be or what. But Elenius wasn't. It wasn't like he was difficult to hit. He was wide open. So yeah, I don't want to rip into Joshua because he did what he needed to. But yeah, I wouldn't be taking the Wilder fight next. That's for absolute certainty. Because when Elenius did throw back, he was landing easily on Joshua. There was no head movement. And if Joshua approaches Wilder the same way as Elenius, there's only one winner, unfortunately.
Daz?
Yeah, mate. I pretty much echo that.
Pardon the pun.
He just didn't impress me at all, to be fair. I thought that was quite alarming when he was saying, "Oh, I can't land the right hand." I thought that's very strange. If he boxes Wilder like that, mate, he's gonna get his head knocked off. You can't stand off Wilder like he did. I mean, and let's be fair, Elenius had some success as well, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He sort of like it was a cautious one. What, you know, at least I'm not for 1 minute saying Elenius was winning, but Elenius landed some shots, and you know, you stand in front of a Wilder with your gloves eye. He's just going to drill you through your gloves. You can't do it. So yeah. I just, unless it's a major drastic change. Listen, unless it's a genius ploy by Derek James to, you know, make Wilder think that this is going to happen. I don't know, mate, but I can't see it. It just don't look there. It just doesn't look there anymore for AJ. Very cold, you know. Listen, you don't want to be. He didn't want to be losing fights. There's a lot of pressure on him, but come on. I mean, he should be taking. I mean, I gave him benefit of doubt with saying 3 rounds. Should have took him out. Should have been taking him out.
Yeah, the worrying thing with me was how Elenius was landing on him because, like you say, if that's a world level operator or a big puncher like Deontay Wilder, good night, Vienna.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, let's be completely honest here, lads. Elenius isn't even top 20.
No, he's not.
You got to give you got to give AJ credit though, guys, for even having the fight. You know, I think everyone would have forgiven him if, with only a week left, the fight was cancelled completely. The show was cancelled. No one would have kicked off about that.
He had to get out though, didn't he, before the Wilder fight?
He needed to, Cole. Yeah. So, and in reality, Elenius is probably the best he could have got in that time frame. He wasn't going to pick anyone really dangerous, was he? Why would you do that with a week's notice? He's done that once before, and look what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's definitely called. I think we're all hoping that this AJ turns up that just isn't there anymore. It's just not there, in my view. Eddie Hearn's going to put the spin on about he's got, you know, he thinks he beats Wilder, etc., etc. I'm telling you what, if he fights at that distance against Wilder, there's only one result.
What did you make of his antics at the end?
No, I didn't like it. I didn't like the way he just waltzed out the ring. I thought it was quite disrespectful, to be honest.
Well, Elenius was out cold on the floor,
yeah,
and he was drinking. He was drinking forged Irish Start in the front row.
Funnily enough, Perry fought and had a pint after and got fined. Got told off for
that. By the board?
Yeah, you're not supposed to drink alcohol for 24 hours, I think.
Interesting.
After a fight.
Really?
Yeah. In case of a brain injury. If you've picked up some sort of brain injury and you're there getting plastered. So for AJ to be allowed to go ringside and have a couple of mouthfuls of forged Irish Stout.
What did you make of all the old Conor McGregor entrance and shenanigans, Daz?
Oh, mate, he's a bit boring, isn't he? I used to like Conor, mate. I used to like Conor McGregor. And I still don't mind him now, but you're an MMA fighter. You're not a boxer. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he's blatantly off his bonds, isn't he? You know, sat at ringside, shadow boxing, and like, you know, he's blatantly had a bit of marching powder, I think. But it's up to him, innit? You know, he's earned a lot of money, hasn't he, off that persona. So
yeah, I'm not sure it's the best look though, is it?
No, it's not, mate. And especially getting in ring and offering a bare knuckle fight with KSI. It's like, right, okay. I mean, why was he even there? What's he got to do with?
Who, KSI or?
No, he sponsored it, didn't he? He sponsored the fight night, does he?
Forged Irish Start sponsored the fight.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that actually his company then, that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it. He's in partnership with Eddie Hearn for the sponsorship for the show. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with him being there or his sponsorship or any of that. I don't have a problem with any of it. But he clearly isn't the same Conor McGregor that was dominating the UFC. You can say he's on stuff, Daz, which may be the case, but he's definitely not the same person, and something's going on there. Have you heard the rumours that he's potentially being offered a world title fight?
In what?
No.
Please don't tell me in boxing.
Yep.
Against who?
You know that the Australian Hogan?
Dennis Hogan.
Yeah, is it the IBO?
IBO.
Well, I mean, IBO have literally shot the Sens in foot credibility-wise if that happens, aren't they?
So apparently there's two options for Hogan, or two options that his team are looking at. Conor McGregor's one of them.
Where the money is. Let's have it.
Say again?
Where the money is. Let's have
yeah.
it.
And what's his name? The other Irish guy that Eubank Jr. fought way back.
Spike O'Sullivan.
Spike O'Sullivan.
Well, there's only one winner there, isn't there? From a commercial aspect.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to go with money in here.
Well, I mean, like you say, Daz, what does that do to the reputation of the RBO if that fight happens?
I mean, they're not the most prestigious at the minute, are they? They're trying to forge their way, obviously, aren't they? But I mean,
they're trying to become a more reputable belt, aren't they?
Yeah, and doing that isn't going to help. Not one bit.
No.
Yeah, it's a very strange thing. I don't know, but it definitely wasn't a good look by Joshua jumping out of the ring. I mean, if that was any other fighter, Carl, and they did anything while a fighter was unconscious on the floor, we've said it in the past, haven't we? We don't like it when fighters celebrate when somebody's still unconscious on the floor. So the fact that within seconds of knocking him out is outside the ring, I think it's a really, really bad look. And no one even mentioned that on the night. No one mentioned it.
No, and I get there must have been a touch of relief because he was fighting for his career. Much I think
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Much I feel it's a one-sided fight, and it was always a given he was going to win. There's still going to be that element of relief in there. So I get that, but you should still control your emotions, and you should never go walking out the ring, walking around the crowd, showboating before your opponent's okay. Just not done. So,
no.
But he's got this character, hasn't he? Where he's doing some very strange things at the minute. Whether it's grabbing the mic off Usyk and talking about his upbringing, walking out of rings and celebrating. It's just, are we seeing the real AJ?
I think I've said it before. I think that he's been trained to be the media darling for all these years, and that's all well and good when everybody's praising you and everyone's giving you really positive feedback. All of a sudden, for the last, I don't know, year and a half, since the 2 losses to Usyk, the pressure's been on him, and he's not been getting positive feedback all the time. He's getting negative feedback from people, even from his peers in the boxing industry, not just from Twitter, not from social media, but from like-minded fighters and commentators and pundits. He's not been getting the positivity that he's got all of his career. And look, I don't think that sits well with him. And when Adi Oladipo was trying to interview him at the end, he wasn't interested, Carl. He didn't want to be there.
No, it sometimes amazes me how thin-skinned these fighters are.
Yeah.
It just amazes me. But you're right, he's got a lot of people around him telling him that a lot of yes men.
Do you know when he looked happiest? You'd got I was watching that. I caught a bit of the Before the Bell show, and he was obviously at the arena, and he was sat with an elderly looking couple.
I saw that, yeah.
And they had Joshua t-shirts on, and I think one of them was maybe an old coach from Finchley.
Right.
Maybe, I'm not 100%, but he looked so relaxed. He was shaking his hand every 2 minutes.
Respectful ones, yeah. Very, very respectful, wasn't he?
Yeah, and it's like, this guy obviously went way back with him for whatever reason, and he would just, you could just see that he didn't know camera on him, and he was just being himself, and he looked happy, content, and he was just being himself.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking do you know what he could do? Taking a bit of advice off Lennox Lewis. I think how to respond to losses. Because he's not responding.
I do think he's overachieved in his career, though, Daz. I think he's overachieved a little bit. He got thrust into the limelight, and maybe he's overachieved. His talent has taken him as far as it's going to go. That's my honest opinion.
I mean, what do you think to his Olympic gold medal? Do you think? Because
I thought he got beat, but
yeah.
But he got it. So he just got thrust in the limelight very quickly, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, you can't blame AJ for having a promoter that's managed to manage his career as well as Eddie Hearn's done, and got him the world title fights when he's got them. And I mean, everyone that AJ's had put in front of him up until obviously the Ruiz loss, which he he avenged straight away. But up until Usyk, AJ's felt comfortable and knew he could beat the opponents he's been in with. When he got beat by Usyk the first time, I think there was a little bit of for the first time in his career, I think he was doubting properly doubting himself. And then the second loss, even though he was better in that second fight, he still got soundly beat. And I think it dawned on him, I'm not the best.
Do you know what I likened him to when he lost to Usyk? And listen, he might laugh at me here, but I likened him to Rocky in Rocky 3 when he lost to Clubber Lang.
Just remind me, you got a board license. Just remind me. Listen, Rocky's on the beach, mate, and Rocky just been demolished by Clubber Lang, right? And Rocky had I'm struggling, Daz.
Rocky had 10 title defenses and smashed them all, and basically come up against someone and basically then doubted himself.
I see the parallels you're drawing there, mate.
Yeah, listen, I think AJ's having a moment like that. I think he's thought, am I really as good as what everybody's telling me I am?
You get some fighters, don't you, that a loss scares them to the point that much that they're scared to lose again, so they don't fight the same way.
Yeah, that's my point. I mean, I'm not comparing him to a Rocky character, but I think that the actual thing what happened is like they both thought they're indestructible, and he's got handled easy, hasn't he, off Usyk, really, that first fight. Fairly comfortable for Usyk, for me. Yeah. And then I think he thought...
It's okay me saying he should have big manned him and blah, 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 but maybe he's just not good enough to do so.
Yeah, maybe so, but I mean, he got stopped off. I mean, obviously he lost to Ruiz first, so that's going to put a bit of a chink in him. He sort of avenged that, but I mean, Ruiz came in even fatter than he were for the first fight, if that's even possible.
After a world tour, coming back to Camp Lee.
Yeah, exactly. Did a Buster Douglas, didn't he? Trained on cheeseburgers. It's, so is he having self-doubt? Is he thinking, well, am I as good as what everyone's, saying I was? Am I? And do you know what, mate? Do you know the word? I mean, I can't say for sure, but I should think that the worst question a world champion asks himself, is in mirror to himself and says, am I really a deserving world champion? Am I really as good as what everyone was telling me I were?
The truth is, though, Daz, a guy of Anthony Joshua's standing who's got all that money, a bit like Carl Froch when in the second George Groves fight, when he had to go and see a sports psychologist to learn him how not to get wound up. Surely AJ should. I don't know that he hasn't sought help, but if he hasn't, definitely he should be seeking help, shouldn't he? If it's a confidence issue.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, if it's he'll know himself whether he's afraid to let his shots go. He'll know himself whether he's hesitant to get it, and if that's the case, he needs to explore avenue of sorting that out.
Yeah, just big comment up in the side, just 1 minute. Best boxing fan, you've mentioned the name Andy twice now. If you've got a question to ask, just post it and we'll put it to him. Okay, that's how it works.
I can't see the guys. I can't see the comments in the sidebar tonight.
Yeah, so he just put your name twice, Andy. Whether he means to put a question alongside it, I don't know. So let's just see what comes. So Andy, do you want to take us through some of the undercard highlights?
Yeah, so we'll start off with Maisie Rose Courtney, who was on the before the Bell show. Maisie Rose Courtney versus Gemma Rueg. I mean, Daz, you know Gemma Rueg from the Small Old Show. She's very, very tough, and she, in my opinion, gave a really good account of herself in this fight. I didn't agree with the judges' score. I think Maisie Rose won the fight, but I don't think it was a complete shutout like the ref gave it. What was your take on it?
Yeah, I thought Gemma won a couple of rounds, to be fair. I think she were fairly competitive in them all. She, but let's be truthful, Gemma's very limited.
Durable though, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's tough, mate.
Yeah.
She's tough and durable, but so's a punch bag.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's I've got to judge it by what. Listen, I'm always going to judge the girls around Nick's way on what I think Nick would do. Do you know what I mean? How Nick could go on, and I think she punches holes. Punches holes in Gemma Ruegg, but she's not even going to be fighting Gemma Ruegg now because that's a step back. But I think she punches holes in Maisie Rose, to be fair. I've spoke to Nick, and like Nick says, yeah, she used to fight like that as an amateur. But she's got the big build up, hasn't she?
That's what I mean. I'll be honest with you, Andy. My take was that I haven't learned nothing new about Maisie. I'm waiting for this sport to happen, which justifies the backing and the promotional pushes she's getting from Matchroom. But, I'm yet to see it, if I'm being brutally honest. She's got a big backing from the West Ham crowd, clearly. She's a very nice girl, it looks like in interviews and that. But I just think we need to see a little bit more, if I'm being brutally honest. To me,
it's just a case of the fact that she's trained by Kevin Mitchell and Tony Sims. So, yeah, we'll take her on. She'll get a few wins. But as soon as she comes up against somebody decent, she's going to get spanked.
I'd imagine. I don't want to be cynical about it, but I'd imagine she's shifting a fair few tickets for these shows.
She will be, mate. Yeah. She'll be selling her tickets and everything. But listen, good luck to her.
Bit of a strange one, Andy, in the sidebars. The best boxing fan. Good evening, best boxing fan. Sorry, he apologised for typing Andy twice, but he put, I'm just impressed with Andy's wallpaper. Is that your bedroom? Bet your missus isn't happy with that, laugh out loud. So obviously he's admiring your decor, Andy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's not a wallpaper, but it's a backdrop, mate.
So next fight, Andy.
Okay, we'll go with Johnny Fisher against Harry Armstrong for the Southern Area Heavyweight title. Congratulations for Johnny Fisher for winning this title. What I like about Johnny Fisher and his team is they're gonna go the traditional route, and they're gonna try and win every belt, building up through the heavyweight division. I know we've a couple of us on the show have been a little bit critical of Johnny Fisher over his time so far in the pro ranks. I know Lee slaughtered him because he thinks he's no more than a YouTuber when Lee's been on the show. I was quite impressed. I think Johnny Fisher's improving every fight. Forget the fact that he's a big ticket seller. Let's just look at Johnny Fisher as a fighter. What's that make him now? Is it 6-0, 7-0?
I think he's 7. I think 7.
They've clearly realised that. I mean, and you don't often see this with a fighter that gets pushed by Matchroom like he's being pushed. You don't often see them go for an area title. So they've obviously realised that he's still learning as a fighter, and that's his level right now. And he did a fantastic job, in my opinion. How tough is Harry Armstrong, by the way?
Yeah, tough kid.
Like nails. Johnny Fisher was landing some really massive shots.
Yeah, he's known for it.
Yeah, I'm starting to really like our professional Johnny Fisher's being now. He's obviously taking this completely seriously, like you would expect, but it'd be easy for him to get carried away on this little wave that, his old man's got this YouTube channel and that's making loads of money for him probably, and it'd be easy to fall away and not take his boxing quite so seriously. But that, in my opinion, that's not happening. Cole, what's your opinion?
10-0 Johnny is now. So I've said a few times on here, haven't I, that I think Eddie Hearn hasn't realised how good Fisher is. I think he's better than he probably gave him credit for.
Yeah,
I like him going the traditional route. He's got limitations, but by all accounts, he can bang. He all come out that ring saying he can punch. So wherever you got a punch at that weight, you've got a chance, right? I'm not sure how far he goes up the levels, but he just seems a very nice young man, don't he? He's working hard and trying to be the best fighter that he possibly can.
Yeah.
So take away all the YouTube channels with his old man. You know, he's got a good team there, hasn't he? Nesjam, you know, who will get him the promotional deal that he deserves. I think you just have to enjoy the ride with Johnny Fisher, to be honest with you, and just see where it takes us. Because, again, I think he's got a ceiling to his talent. But he's a very entertaining fighter to watch as well, because he leaves it all in the ring. So, yeah, I mean, I was impressed by him again. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think going that route is ideal for him to gather experience as well.
Yeah.
You know, you'll go the traditional route, but it also allows Johnny to get, you know, experience. And I like him, mate, to be fair. You know, he's got stuff to learn, but he seems to be learning it and wanting to learn. So, you know, I think he's gonna he might surprise a few people in fights. I mean, he come out like an absolute lunatic though, didn't he, in that first round?
Oh, that's one of the things he's going to learn, isn't it? You're not going to because he's done that in previous fights, Daz, and he's blown people away.
Yeah.
Quite clearly, he's in with a fighter that's a damn sight tougher than his other opponents, because he was never blowing Armstrong away.
See, that like you said could work in his favour, because if he fights someone else who he believes is a step up from Harry Armstrong, he'll probably think himself, right, I can't go out there and do that, because if I go out there and do that...
Did you beat Fabio Wardler?
Not right now.
Not now, I don't think.
Will he ever beat Wardler?
I don't know. It's interesting. And
I mean, he's a young kid, isn't he? He's only his early 20s, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's about 22, 23.
So he's got a lot of time to even get to that level, right? If it takes him, you know, another 10 fights to get to British level, I don't have a problem with that at all.
How old's Wardler? Is Wardler 31?
I don't think he's quite that old, is he? Is he 28, 29?
I know Fisher's 24.
You see, I don't know, mate. I can see Johnny, depending on what happens, obviously, with Fraser and Dave Allen, I can see Johnny Fisher v Dave Allen at some point.
28.
Again, I wouldn't push him on that onto him just yet. He's very raw still. I tell you what I'd do. I'd give him 2 or 3 defenses, and then I'd push him to the English title and see what he does at that level. And then take it from there.
How many defenses until the English?
I'd give him 2 or 3 defenses, maybe 4. He's still a work in progress, Carl.
Yeah, I won't go 4. 4's to 4. That's another 2 years, isn't it? That every 6
No,
months.
well, not necessarily, is it? You know, he could fight. He could fight three times a year easily. You know, he could fight another time. You know, at least once more this year. It depends how much they want to get him out. And how quickly they want to push his career, really.
I think there's enough depth in British heavyweight boxing to get him in with some experienced operators, moving him up through the levels slightly. I think the depth's there.
I think he'll be facing Wardley or someone like that within about 4 fights.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that's too early.
Could be, but I don't think they're gonna. You know, my
personal opinion is I don't think there's any rush from Eddie Hearn to to push him to a level where he's going to be in too deeper water right now. Because if he was to put him in, with a Wardley or a Fraser Clark in the next couple of fights, he'll get beat easily. Because he just isn't ready for that. He's not experienced enough.
So in about 4 fights' time, it might be a case of him beat loser out of Wardley or Adelaide.
It's difficult though, isn't it? Because if he fights at this level for another 4 fights, he may not learn anything because he might blast them out.
Yeah, I don't think he will though, Cole. It's already been proved. Harry Armstrong is much tougher than the other opponents he's been in with, and that's only stepping up to Southern area. So when he moves up to English level, I mean, we see it on small old shows all the time. Daz sees it on small old shows. This level, Southern area is a very, very good level. And then English level's the next level up again, a very, very good level. He's not, in my opinion, he's not quite ready for English just yet. So to be talking about British in 4 fights, I think it's way too soon. Right. Anything else on that before we move on?
No.
Okay. There's obviously 2 more heavyweight fights before the Joshua fight. Both of them shocking, but let's talk about the worst one. Filip Hrgović, Dempsey McKean. What an absolute bore fest this was.
There's always going to be, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Carl, Hrgović can't be, he can't be mandatory, IBF mandatory for the winner of Usyk and Daniel Dubois, and then pull performances like that up. He can't do it. That's 2 performances in a row where he's been awful.
He looked like a typical fighter who had a world title opportunity. He was frightened to lose.
But he fought exactly the same way against Zhang as well.
Yeah, but again, it was IBF mandatory then one. That was for IBF mandatory, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he looked like he almost like he can't pull the trigger. You can see that this quality there with Hrgović. There's a lot of skill. Does he punch hard enough? I'm not sure given the size of that lump and not be able to bang. I mean, he used to level that one at Tyson Fury, didn't he? That he couldn't punch. I would suggest he has. I just think he's been a bit trigger shy. I think there's a lot on the line on Saturday.
I mean, he made Dempsey McKean look half decent. That probably tells you it all.
Yeah, they were both shocking. Both shocking.
He was very risk averse, wasn't they?
Yeah, but very shocking. I'll be honest with you, I was forwarding it through some rounds. I was like,
it was, you wouldn't have missed about anything, Daz, if he was forwarding it. Trust me.
And then McKean unravelled, didn't he? Pretty much.
I think McKean just got tired.
Yeah.
Well, it just shows his levels, don't there? There's levels to this game, isn't there? And he got found out he wasn't at this level. That's the truth of it, in my view.
Yeah,
Hrgović needs to improve massively, mate. He's got to look good. That's the problem is, if you want to make any money in the heavyweight division, you need to be looking good.
He's never looked good, though, has he? You name me a fight where he's looked good. He's always been boring to watch. That's why nobody wants to fight him. He's got no commercial value.
That's right. That's right. He'll get his world title shot and he'll bore his way through that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you imagine him against Usyk? Usyk will just box his head off all night.
Yeah, it's one for purists. That
shocking. So I think we've done all we need to on that.
Yeah, I agree.
So here's the golden question, guys. Derek Chisora, should he fight again?
No,
not for me.
He's clearly going to, though. He's made a statement saying,
I don't think either of them should fight again. If I'm being brutally honest.
Well, Washington didn't seem like he was. For the first 3/4 of the fight, it was like it was a sparring session because Chisora wasn't getting into range, and he was just being picked off. I mean, they gave Chisora the win, Daz, and And for me, I don't think he won. I think he lost.
Yeah, I had it close-ish, but if I were going to score it, but it was another one of them. I was just too busy looking at Derek, thinking you're just an injury waiting to happen. I think
it's dangerous, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's not. I mean, Derek's he's always been really tough, really durable, and there's always that possibility that he's gonna land a bomb, like he has done in a couple of fights where he's looked like he's been getting beat in the fight, and one big shot's turned it around. He didn't even look like he got that in him.
He should have
on
finished
Saturday night.
He should have finished after the Joe Parker fight when he was hanging onto the ropes.
Yeah.
Because that was a sign that it was spent.
Yeah.
The problem is though, Cole, while he's still selling tickets, the amount of tickets he sells.
Not, though, is there? But he's not. He comes on. He's not shifting many tickets now. Not this last fight. It was AJ who shifted the tickets.
You reckon?
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to know how many people. Who's going to pay to watch him?
Well, he's got a big following. Did you not hear the crowd on Saturday night?
They're not there for him. I'm telling you. Let's see when he headlines next. If he does.
Well, he won't, will he? He's not gonna headline his show because he's not. With all due respect, he's not at the level where he's going to be fighting the big names anymore.
Why do you think Prince Khalid paid his person, not Eddie Hearn?
Yeah, so some people are actually talking about him fighting Wilder. It's like, what?
That's dangerous. That's really, really, really dangerous.
Nice.
The last thing I want to see is Derek Chisora end up in a bad way because he's fought too long.
Yeah, exactly.
And if he goes in against someone that's a really big puncher, there's the chance that could happen, and nobody wants to see that. He's had a great career, Chisora. Yeah, he's lost a lot of fights, but he's durable. He's always been there. His game, you know, you always get up until recently. You've always got a good fight out of Chisora, haven't you?
I think great career might be a bit over the top. He's had a good career.
He's been in with everybody though, Carl.
He hasn't beat him, has he? So it's hardly a great career.
No, maybe not. Maybe not. He's beat some of them, but I think he had a good twilight to his career up until the Joe Parker fight. It's like he turned old overnight in that Joe Parker fight. But up until that, you know, the 4 or 5 fights before that, he looked good.
Who were they?
He fought. I can't remember. He knocked out what's it? Didn't it? Takam.
Yeah,
he knocked out Takam. That was probably his best win. Recent, and that's not a bad result. Takam's tough as nails. You know, and he did a number on him. I mean, you could say the 2 fights with Dillian White. He was great in both of them. But they were both very close fights, and White was probably at his best at that point. So I don't think he's been far off, Carl. It's only been the last couple of years. I think you've seen a drastic drop in his performance. But while he's rubbing shoulders with the Saudis, and they're kind of backing him or whatever they're doing with him, he's going to keep fighting.
Looking through his record, though, it's not a great career. You know, he's beating people like Takam Granted, lost to White, beat someone called Sinead Gashi at the O2, beat I can't pronounce his name, Spilka, the Croatian fighter, not great. Beat David Price, not a bad result. But then he heads into like Usyk lost, Joe Parker lost, beat Pulev, not bad, lost to Fiore and beat Washington. So not a great career for me, to be honest with you.
He's lost to world level fighters there, though, hasn't he?
That's what I mean. So, yeah, Yeah, I think he's always been. It's not even fringe world level for me.
Maybe not, but I stand by the fact that he's a ticket seller, mate. He had a good reception when he come out on Saturday night. I think there was a lot of people in there for him, if I'm being honest with you. I know that him and AJ are good mates as well, so obviously there's probably the same people follow him that follow AJ.
Yeah.
Okay, swiftly moving on. I think that's about it, to be honest, for that card, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, I think.
So we'll move on to the next topic then, guys. I'm going to be ducking out in a minute, but I'll stick around for this one. So Alicia Baumgardner test positive. I've added a bit on there about another matchroom fighter because obviously we all know about what's happened with some of his stable. Very disappointing, this one. Daz, I know we spoke about it briefly off camera, so I'll come to you first. Just give us your thoughts. Boxing doesn't need many more of these stories, does it?
No, and do you know what she's doing as well, mate? She's taking to social. She's like on Twitter, and she's sort of like making a bit of a joke of it. She's like put something about, I opened a juice bar in somewhere last month or year or something. And do you know what I mean? It's like, come on, this is serious.
Yeah, trivialising it.
Yeah, it's serious. You know,
I mean, the only thing I would say is that the Conor Benn scenario has learned us a lot, hasn't it? You know, about, you know, the extent fighters can go to with legal teams, etc., to challenge these decisions.
Do you know what, mate? The scary thing is with doping, with performance enhancers, it's not even from Conor Benn that we should be worried and stuff like that. It's from things like Lance Armstrong, because he went how long unnoticed, you know, and it had been tested. But you know, you've got high level chemists, you know, on your payroll who can disguise things like that. It's scary, mate. It's very, very scary.
The thing for me here with this is, so if you look at the dates, so she was tested on June the 16th and was clear. She was tested then on July the 12th, which was 3 days before a fight, and she said that's the positive test, the one on the 12th. But those results didn't come until after the fight. That's the scary thing. So she tests positive, and the results don't come until after the fight.
Yeah.
She's then tested again, fight night, after the fight, and she's clean. That's come back negative. My concern is, between June the 16th, when she's tested, and July the 12th, you're talking nearly 4 weeks there, Daz. That's plenty of time to have a cycle of anabolic steroids.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm right in thinking, someone said on social media today, they stay in your system for 5 days.
I'm not an expert on it, but I think so. But
if that's the case, right? If that's the case, and I'll come on to why I'm saying this in a little bit. Is it that she's just misjudged when she started taking it to when she's finished it, thinking it'll be out of her system by that point? This is if she's guilty, by the way. I'm not throwing her under the bus here, but I'm just, you know, devil's advocate and all that. If she is taking it, or if she has been taking it, and let's say there is that 5 day cycle, has she just misjudged it, thinking, well, the fight's coming up, it'll be out of my system before I get tested again before the fight?
Even if she has done, she needs banning.
But this is the point I'm making is, if that is the case, right, and it is a case of she's just mistimed it, and that's why it's a trace sample, how long has she been doing it for?
Yeah.
And getting away with it. The problem with boxing and the problem with VADA is they don't test enough.
No.
They only test in competition. They only sign up. The fighters only have to sign up, and they have to sign up to stay in the WBC rankings. But the other rankings they don't.
No.
For all the other organisations, they don't. Only the WBC. So she's not getting tested year round. Is my point, and neither is any other boxer. So,
well, have you seen the British Boxing Board are actually appealing the decision of a Conor Benn?
Are they?
Yeah, they're actually appealing,
saying that they don't believe the findings.
They don't agree with it. They don't agree that he should have been cleared by all accounts.
But okay. The problem with that is that UKAD are the organisation that the British Boxing Board of Control go to.
It's all a farce, mate. But let's strip it down. Wouldn't happen if you don't put PEDs in your body.
Exactly, and that's my point with Baumgardner, mate. The thing with Baumgardner compared to Conor Benn, and I'm not sticking up for Conor Benn here. I'll give my opinion on him loads of times on the show. Baumgardner was found with 2 different steroids in the system.
Yeah.
Not 1, 2. She was found with mestrolone, I think it's pronounced.
Something mestrolone or something, I think.
Mestrolone and methanerolone. I think the 2. I think that's how you pronounce them. Both of them are anabolic steroid performance enhancing drugs. Someone again on social media, so I don't know if it's fact, are saying that at least one of those bodybuilders used to cut weight, so to shred before competition. I don't know if that's fact or not fact, so don't quote me on it. But if that is the case and she's using it building up to fight, then that would make sense as to why it's in the system if she's using it to cut weight.
Yeah.
Again, mate, she's obviously protesting her innocence. She's saying that because the other 2 tests are clear, that means that the one in the middle can't be right. Well, that isn't the case, is it?
No.
If it only stays in your system 5 days, if that is the case, and it only stays in your system 5 days, then that could very easily be a true reading.
Yeah, of course it could. Listen, how do things like that get in your system if you've not put it in there?
Well, I did a little bit of research on, and these are digested through your mouth. So it's food, it's supplements, it's tablet form, it's however that is made. She's physically had to have taken that.
Yeah.
So she knows, unless it's in a drink or unless it's in a food substance. But at the end of the day, I mean, I said it with Conor Benn. Could somebody in his team have done it without him knowing about it? Could somebody in her team have done it without her knowing about it? But at the end of the day, it's still her responsibility because she's ate or drank whatever they give her.
Yeah, exactly.
The question here is, Daz, this test was 2 or 3 days before a fight. Positive test. Surely Christina Linardatu's got the rights to be appealing for this.
Yeah, she's got the rights, mate, for something, hasn't she? Definitely.
What those rights are, I don't know. That'd obviously be a court case, wouldn't it? I mean, I'm guessing they're going to find out. It'll be a long drawn out thing with this. It'll be another year like Conor Benn. This is the problem, isn't it? Drug tests are not turning around quick enough. I mean, what would have happened if something serious would have happened in that fight and Linardatu would have been in serious trouble, and then you find that out afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. Mate, you're up for manslaughter, aren't you?
It's the end of boxing, that, mate.
You're up for GBH.
It's the end of boxing. Where does it? What does it do for boxing? Does boxing recover from something like that?
Mate, first time. I don't think that it'd kill boxing, but if someone gets injured, seriously, at the hands of a drug cheat, 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% It's not great, mate. It'll take some coming back from.
Awful, mate. Awful.
Yeah, it'd take some coming back from that. Definitely.
I mean, this. You got to put the blame on a number of people here. Obviously, Baumgardner, if she's taken the drug, her whole team, because they'll know she's doing it.
Yeah.
But you've got to be looking at VADA here, because they're not testing enough. They're not testing enough. They should be testing all year round for every boxer, especially when it comes to world titles. When it comes to the high-profile level, they should be testing all year round. If they're not capable of doing it, we'll get an organisation in that is capable of doing it then. And not only that, the tests need to be turned around quicker. I heard it took 9 days for that result to come back, Daz.
Yeah, I mean, you put a positive test in. I mean, look at the one with Dillian White. That's cancelled the fight.
Cancelled the fight. My point is, though, because this one was so close to the fight and they didn't get it turned around quick enough, it's a positive test, but she still fought with that in the system.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, if you're going to test her before the fight, that result needs to come before the fight.
Yeah.
You can't test her and then go, oh, well, yeah, let's get the results in a week's time. That's too late by then, because the fight's done. It's just not acceptable, Daz.
No, he's playing with people's lives.
It is. It's very dangerous. And imagine it wasn't a trace sample. They're saying it's a trace sample. Imagine it wasn't. Imagine it was a massive sample. You know, and she's or anybody, any fighter, it's a massive sample, and they take a test the day before a fight, 2 days before a fight. The results don't come back until a week later. By that point, that person that's drugged up has been that dangerous in the fight. You know, they've been at peak for 12 rounds and they've done some serious damage to their opponent. And then the drug test comes in 5 to 6 days later, or 9 days later in this case, and there's a massive amount of steroid in the system. Then what? It's too late by that point. That fighter's suffered serious injuries, and it could have been stopped. Just it doesn't. Nothing. None of this sits well, mate. And boxing needs to look at itself drastically.
It does.
It's okay just pointing the finger at Baumgardner. You got to point the finger at the way tests are taken and the organisation itself, because clearly they're not turning around tests quick enough.
So, Matt, been a while.
Good evening.
Good evening, young man.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm all good, all good. So, Matt, Andy's on his phone, so he's not sure. I'm not sure he can see that you wanted to join, fellas. I thought I'd just jump in and get your thoughts.
Yeah, sorry about that, Matt. I can't see anything.
No worries.
So,
no
Matt,
worries.
I'll introduce you to Daz. Daz is a British Boxing Board of Control trainer who now joins the show. Daz, this is Matt, who used to join us a while ago.
Hello, Matt, you all right?
Good evening. You're right.
Probably when he had a little bit more sleep as well. He looked a bit tired. Can't do why. I'm only getting 12 hours sleep a night, Matt. I'm struggling a little bit, but you know.
In fairness, mate, you look like you need it more than me. So
good comeback. I like that. Yeah, you still got your wit. So, talk to us about Baumgardner then, Matt.
So it's not just about sort of Baumgardner, but it's unfortunately the Conor Benn situation just keeps sort of like rearing its ugly head. All these any chat about drugs seems to come back to him. Firstly, you don't see me for a little while because that Conor Benn situation just sort of nearly killed my love for boxing overnight. Like, it's what frustrates me. You were talking just there about, you know, people being able to potentially put drugs in the system that are undetectable. That's a big worry because it's happened before and it can potentially do again. I posted a comment just saying, so say, for example, the Conor Benn situation, they're trying to find different ways. Fighters think they can find different ways of saying, well, it got in my system this way or it got in my system that way. And if they can argue the toss, then there's a decent chance they're going to get away with it.
money helps, Matt, as well, doesn't it?
Oh, massively. One thing so today I read an article. I don't know if you boys you remember the Tokyo, the most recent Olympics, and the British 4x1 squad. They had their silver medals taken off of them because that one of the team, that CJ Uja, tested positive for a banned substance. Now he was found to have consumed that substance through, you was mentioning, Andy, like supplements and stuff like that. So I don't know what the governing body, the anti-doping governing body was, but they accepted his explanation that he didn't intentionally cheat, but he still got a 2-year ban. And if he had been intentionally cheating, it would have been 4 years, and that's sort of standard across that sport.
What sport was that? I didn't hear it, Matt.
Athletics, mate.
Right. Okay.
Athletics. So they, like I said,
Matt, you're in very grey area where you start talking about intention and non-intention, aren't you? Legally.
Yeah. Oh, massive. Yeah. Massively. I get that, but they however they prove that it was intentional or not, how as it played out, he could prove that this is the supplement that he took and this was where it was in and what have you. Look, you've heard the old blooming uncastrated wild boar excuse a few times. Like, I don't see them on the banned list. Do you know what I mean? It's what worries me is that, like I said, if fighters can say, "Oh, well, this is how it got in my system," they're going to get away with it. I don't know if you boys, when this news about Baumgartner was dropping last night, Eddie Hearn got interviewed, and it was the Seconds Out interview I think I saw, and he says we pay, or anybody associated with Matchroom or Matchroom fighters pay the extra money for VADA. And you applaud that. That's a good, on paper, that's a good step.
Yeah.
But what bothered me afterwards was his comment along the lines of, you're going to have more of these adverse findings. And you think that's a good thing in terms of rooting out drug cheats. But I felt his tone was more of, well, that's more stuff that we're going to have to explain sort of thing. And it wasn't a case of, we're going to stamp this out.
He has come out today, though, Matt. He has come out today. He has come out today on a Boxing Social interview saying words to the effect of that other promoters should be testing their fighters as much as Matchroom are, and the question needs to be asked why they're not.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That's perfectly.
Just a counter that, yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's perfectly fair. But what the biggest boxing's biggest problem is that because there are so many governing bodies and there isn't one anti-doping body that governs it across the board, there is a massive inconsistency as to how rules are applied. I mean, Dylan White's got himself in hot space again, but I referred to that athletics scenario earlier. Dylan White's already served a 2-year ban.
What?
Going back, what was it, 6 or 7 years sort of thing. So
the problem you got, Matt, is the it's a voluntary anti-doping association.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sign up for it, which means that the only organisation that then tests is UKAD.
Yeah. In
the UK. So and UKAD don't test as often. So if you're a fighter that's with a promoter that doesn't push for VADA to be at all of their fights, that their fighters and the opponents have to sign up for VADA, otherwise, the fight doesn't happen on that promotion. Then they're gonna get away with it more often.
Yeah. But it's just a bit.
I just want to go back to that scenario as well, Matt, that you just said about athletics.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, right? That this person didn't admit it, so he got 2 years.
Yeah.
If he'd have admitted it, he'd have got 4. Well, I mean, the fact he got banned is a good thing, but athletics isn't a sport where somebody's trying to punch somebody else's face off.
Oh no, not at all. My point was being
so
that there's consistency across the board in how and how it's done.
Yeah. So in a sport where it's not combat, where they're not physically attacking each other, there's more consistency in that sport with their testing regimes than there is in a sport where people are trying to hurt each other. It makes no sense.
I don't understand how you can almost have a plea bargaining system in this doping situation as well. So you're going to get 4 years if you're intentional. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, okay, we'll just plea bargain with us, take the 2 year and we'll say no more about it. Surely, like I said, we need a FIFA, we need a governing body for outboxing where they can bring in guidelines where X, Y, and Z, that's what your punishment's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at Jarrell Miller sort of thing. Like, what did he get? He got 6 months, was it, or something like that?
I mean, these commissions in America, it varies depending state to state, doesn't it? It varies depending who's running the commission for starters.
And it depends on who's tested positive as well, because we can't forget that, you know, the likes of Canelo and Tyson Fury have had backdated bans that never harmed them in the slightest. They went under the radar and they don't get spoken about. And there was 6 month backdated bans that never harmed their career, because for a fighter like, all right, Canelo's been more active recently, but at the time he was only boxing twice a year. What's a 6 month backdated ban? It means nothing. It's just it was a tick box exercise to say, oh yeah, well he did test positive, you know, and you just mentioned it there, Carl. You know what I mean? Like, what's the? Yeah, it's frightening. You boys have said it just as I was coming on. What happens? I'm not even sure that a death in the ring or a serious injury in the ring would actually stop it, because you're still asking 4 major sanctioning bodies worldwide, and then all of your all the state divisions in America, British Boxing Board of Control, whatever you've got going on in Europe, and then all the different anti-doping nationally, internationally. Shit, how do you fix that?
The only thing is, Matt, also, Matt, none of the anti-doping agencies have got any teeth anyway. They can't apply any fines or anything like that. They've got no stick. Yeah. So
when you've got promoters and fighters that have lawyers that can put gagging orders on boxing associations and gagging orders on doping associations to stop them from saying anything, you're already in a bad situation there.
Well, let's be honest, the British Boxing Board of Control are so minuscule compared to promotional outfits, it's untrue.
Yeah.
But they've got no financial clout, let's be honest.
No. And that's a problem in itself, isn't it? They're bullied into certain things, the British Boxing Board of Control. They're bullied because they don't have, like you just said, they don't have the financial backing. That if a big promoter wants to take them to court, then the British Boxing Board of Control could end up going under because they won't be able to pay the fees. They're a tin pot organisation, really.
Well, they're just a limited company, aren't they? That's all they are at the end of the day. So. I noticed Darren staying very quiet because, you know, they're his gaffers.
Well, I have to, mate.
I know.
Yeah, I have to. I don't want to drive to Birmingham for a meeting, mate. It's a long way.
I just want to make the point that this is our individual opinions, not Darren's.
All the channel. Let's get that in there as well.
Oh,
yeah, all the channel.
My opinions are my own, fellas. I'm not going to drag you down with me.
Thing is, though, end of the day, if they stop putting PEDs in the system, we won't be having this conversation, would we?
The problem is, though, Daz, why are they getting away with it? I mean, I dread to think, and I hope it isn't the case, but because the testing isn't adequate, it could be rife.
Yeah.
I hope it's not. Yeah.
Mate,
I'd like to think it's not, because that'd destroy my belief in boxing as a sport if that was the case.
Do you know what? With Conor Ben, mate, it's like I was thinking about it the other day, and you think, did it get too much for him having to live up to his dad?
He's just not good enough.
And
That's the truth of it.
And
He's just not good enough.
And that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
The performances up to Van Eden and Algeria weren't great, were they? And then suddenly it turns into an absolute monster.
Let's just flip it away from Ben a minute, because I put a tweet out when I heard about this yesterday. I put a tweet out saying, "Is Alicia Baumgartner going to get slaughtered the way Conor Benn has?" And the answer so far is no. She hasn't.
You know why that is, though? Because the Americans don't follow boxing like the British, and she hasn't got as high profile as Conor Benn has. That's
and I think also the way it was handled as well by the whole sort of situation around it, and little bits and bobs that came out that people within making the fight knew about these positive tests, and they were still wanting to go ahead with the fight. They, do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, there is that, guys. There is that. I get that. I get the fight was very high profile, but we're talking about an undisputed world champion.
Yeah,
we're talking about a girl that knocked somebody out cold, stood upright.
Still not as high profile as Conor Benn.
And maybe not, mate. Maybe not. But she's high profile enough for people to be jumping on her like they've jumped on him. That's the point I'm making. It's very easy for everybody to jump up and down on Conor Benn because he's so high profile. But surely people should be making the same amount of noise.
No,
that don't seem to be the case. And if anything, this is a more clear-cut case because it's 2 steroids.
But like Matt says, you had a whole circus around the Conor Benn decision because it robbed the British boxing public of a Eubank Benn fight.
Yeah.
With all due respect to Baumgartner, she'll never be in a fight as big as that in her entire career. So she just hasn't got the profile of what happened with the entirety of that situation.
Well, I've heard that one of Conor Benn's settee legs is dodgy, so that's where that 270-page dossier is.
Sadly, Andy, like the thing about Baumgartner as well is that you've had the Conor Benn scenario. You then have Dylan White last week. Baumgartner, what sort of news is it on the back of that? You're worried about it being more rife than anybody knows about. I mean, it just becomes just another. I fear that you're going to just keep hearing more of these stories, and it's just going to become another doping story that just gets washed under the carpet within 24 hours of it coming to light. Do you know what I mean?
Yesterday's chip paper, Matthew.
That's the one, mate. Yeah.
I mean, So we're hearing about 3 failed tests within the space of a year in these 3 fighters. They're all claiming contamination. It's very, very unlikely that an anti-doping agency is going to get 3 fighters in a row where they've contaminated all 3 fighters with different substances. By the way, it's impossible that scenario's happened. But where does it stop? At what point do these organisations and then the boards for wherever these fights have taken place that have sanctioned the fight? At what point?
Andy's still doing a Virgin Media, I see.
No, he's not. It's switched.
I'm just having loads of. I'm on my phone, mate. Unfortunately, which is not the best.
I mean, what I would say about the British Boxing Board of Control, they've obviously launched the appeal today, haven't they, regarding the Conor Benn decision, which is quite interesting. So they're not quite done with him yet, are they?
No.
So because they had done, I think it was by close of play tomorrow to launch the appeal, and they've done it today. So he's not quite out the woods yet, is it? I know Eddie Hearn puts his spin on it about he can fight, he's not suspended, this, that, and the other, but obviously the British Boxing Board of Control aren't quite done yet.
No.
And there must be something, because they're not flush with money, and it looks like he's going to court. So
Cole.
Interesting.
Carl, here's the thing for me though. The Boxing Board of Association, their anti-doping organisation is UKAD. UKAD are the ones that have cleared Ben. So if the British Boxing Board of Control are saying we don't believe it, what does that say about their choice in anti-doping organisations?
Hang on, say that again. I thought UKAD were involved in the appeal with the British Boxing Board of Control. Are you saying that UKAD?
No, that's my understanding as well. I thought they've joined forces, and that would be formulating the court case, Matt, right?
So why is Eddie Earns saying that UKAD had cleared Ben then?
I think Eddie has been very clever with terminology, and I'm not going to be pulled down that because there's a lot of legality around it. But I think you just have to be careful with the language that's being used. I think there's some very clever wordsmiths going on.
So you're saying are you saying then that you think UKAD haven't cleared it?
Well, why is it going to court? Because British Boxing Board of Control take advice from UKAD. So there must, again, I'm not privy to all the information, but there's got to be some sticking point somewhere. So let's see. I think there's a few more bumps in the road yet before we get to court. But I think British Boxing Board of Control want their day in court by the looks of it.
Lads, I'm gonna have to jump off.
No worries.
And I'll see you Saturday, Andrew.
You will indeed, mate.
Cheers, Daz.
Cheers, Daz. See you in a bit.
Nice to talk to you, Matt. See you later.
Ta-da.
See you later.
So the challenge we've got is obviously we're not privy to all the information, but there's obviously there's some challenge somewhere from the British Boxing Board of Control, isn't there? Or they wouldn't have launched the appeal. So I think just watch this space. I don't really like surmising because we haven't got the full facts.
Yeah, it doesn't help when you don't actually know. Obviously, everybody now knows that the British Boxing Board are appealing, but you don't, like you said, you don't know why. What's the reason for it? And
on what basis?
Yeah.
And these people paid a lot more money than we will be to support that in court. So very, very interesting. So, any other business before we bring the show to a close? Andy, anything else you want to bring? Anything else you want to raise?
No. It's been a good show again. Unfortunately, I've struggled to hear you throughout, but hopefully I get it sorted for next time.
Obviously, you're off to GBM Media Day. Going to get a bit of lunch on Saturday up in Sheffield. You know.
Yeah, it's obviously a good card. Daz's fighting Nicola Oatwell is up against Emma Dolan on the card for a Commonwealth title. Superfly.
Yeah,
I think it's Superfly.
Yeah, Superfly. And just to show that we're new to the channel, we are going down to Carl Greaves Gym as well, do some filming.
We are indeed. Yeah. We're very neutral on the channel. It's going to be a fantastic fight. Can go either way as well, Carl. That's the beauty of it. We've seen both fighters, obviously, in the flesh. We've been down Carl Greaves and we've seen Emma training. We've seen Nicola training as well. Yeah. It's outstanding, mate. And you've also got Reece Mold topping the bill. It's a good card. I'm really looking forward to it. Media Days Saturday, and the show itself is the 6th of October. So yeah, should be good, mate. Hopefully, get some good footage for the channel, get some decent interviews. So everybody that watches this back, if you're not listening to it live now, please jump on the channel middle of next week, and hopefully all the stuff will be there from the weekend. We've got a lot of shows coming up as well over the next couple of months, so there should be plenty of footage on the channel coming up.
And Matt, it's good to have you back. Good luck with the sleep. But feel free to jump on anytime you can muster the energy.
Yeah. Just before you asked about any other business, I just want to get Andy's thoughts on Jake Paul's knockout of Nate Diaz.
Oh, behave yourself.
And if what your thoughts are about KSI and Tommy Fury coming up.
Matt, I used to like you, mate.
Mate, it's something that's it's turning me off boxing as well. It's just the unfortunate.
Now you've I wasn't going to go down this route, but now you've spoke about KSI, I have to bring up, what the hell was that on Saturday night? Did you think it was a WWE show when that new presenter stuck that mic in front of him? Yeah, it was like he was reading a script for a WWE guy that was doing a promo for before he goes in the ring. It was absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, it was awful.
I know, but the fact that they're getting airtime on an AJ card on the zone, again, it sort of gives it a degree of credibility. I don't understand what they're doing. Getting airtime on mainstream boxing shows, and then you've got Conor McGregor jumping in the ring wanting to fight KSI.
It's it's unfortunately
where the views are, where the money is, where the commercial aspect is. I get it.
But we're in a world now where boxing is commercial value of fights or events has overtaken the glory. Why is Tyson Fury fighting the geezer who's never been in a boxing ring?
I mean, listen, I've been to a few misfit cards with my daughter. I've got to admit, the production side of things is very, very good. The fighting in the ring part of the product is shocking. Don't get me wrong. So it'll always be what it will be. But what I would say is, it's the biggest press conference I've been to. It's the best attended press conference I've been to. I've done Tyson Fury, AJ. Fight night, the fans are in there from 7 p.m. It's packed, the O2, Wembley Arena, packed all night through. So you can see from a commercial aspect why Sauer and DAZN are getting involved.
Yeah.
I do have a problem with, and I've said it on the channel loads of times, I do have a problem with DAZN giving him the amount of nights that they give him, because in my opinion, even though they're staying in their own lane to a degree, apart from when he does things like that on a boxing night, I'll give KSI his due. He's trying to build a product for those YouTube fighters to fight on. I get that. And if he stays in his own lane, I don't have a problem with it. What I have a problem with is DAZN clearly do it for the money and for the views. And obviously, it's making a lot of money, right? So you understand why they're doing it. What annoys me is it's taking fight nights away from proper boxing, which then takes money out of fighters' mouths. That's the long and short of it for me.
But I still think it's a mainstream boxing issue and not a misfits boxing issue. Give the best for fighting the best. Broadcast, it wouldn't just be DAZN that are battling for fight nights and falling over each other. So I think mainstream boxing needs to get back to the best fighting the best, i.e. Crawford Spence.
I agree to a point. You're right that the fights don't happen, and people have been turned off from boxing for years and years because of that. To get them people back is going to be really difficult, because there's other sports now that they watch because they're not getting what they want out of boxing. I don't think that would make the blindest bit of difference to these YouTube shows, though, because the people that go to YouTube shows are not boxing fans.
No, they're not. No.
They're like teenagers and I don't know, maybe people in the early 20s that like watching KSI and Logan Paul drink cereals out of trainers.
I'll give you an example. When I took my daughter to KSI fight recently, and there's a guy called Luis Pineda who's alleged to be a pro-Mexican fighter fighting on the bill. Anyway, I interviewed him with Olivia, and I told Olivia to ask him who he thought was going to win out of Lee Wood versus Mauricio Lara. Bearing in mind he's a Mexican pro fighter, should really know who Lara is. He didn't have a clue. He did not have a clue who Lara was, and he was world champion at the time as well. So that tells you it's a complete different, like I said, as long as you stay in their own lane, but it is a completely different product. And I see it as a WWE type product. If I'm honest with you.
The problem is, and this was always my worry, is that it ain't staying in its own lane, is it? It's bleeding into mainstream boxing because they're doing things like interviewing KSI and the heavyweight champion of the world the supposed best fighter of his era is fighting a non-boxer. Now, yeah, maybe he's not fighting a YouTuber. He's fighting someone from a combat sport background, but he's still not a boxer.
Yeah, money though, isn't it? Pure and simple.
I don't care. If Tyson Fury believed in boxing the way he says he does, he wouldn't be taking the fight.
He's a prize fighter though, so you know he's going to take the money into.
He would have got he would have got that sort of money against Usyk, mate. Chose not to.
Anyway, I only dropped a little gag in there. Didn't think it was going to end up like opening old wounds for you. Sorry about that.
No, but the truth is, it's not going nowhere, is it? It's not going nowhere.
No, not in the slightest. And it's only going to get it's only going to get more bizarre probably. And actually, at what point does it take for somebody to get seriously hurt in one of them fights?
Yeah.
Before they
do we end up with a situation, guys? Do we end up with a situation where DAZN are pulling the strings for the Matchroom product? Do we end up with a situation where it gets that big, social media boxing gets that big, that DAZN start ordering Eddie Hearn to put social media fights on a main card?
I don't think it'll get to that stage. I think part of DAZN's problem is that they don't have a lot of mainstream sport at the moment. What they offer on their stream service is, if you go onto DAZN, you've got bloody Red Bull TV, you've got gaming. They've got nothing to offer. Live Golf, Women's Champions League. That's about as big as it gets for them.
Yeah.
My hope would be is that, let's say, for example, as and when bidding rights for Premier League football, Champions League football, something with a bit more gravitas that brings, I don't know if this makes things better or worse, but it means they've got to put more into, they've got better products on
But Matt, I'm not sure. Matt, I'm not sure they've got deep enough pockets. I know they've got a billionaire owner, but you know, BT and Sky Sports have also got them owners, and they're starting from a long way back, aren't they?
They are, but what is, if they did, if they did happen to get hold of, something more mainstream, would it then push that stuff to the side? I don't know.
Are they prepared to take that gamble though, Matt? 'Cause it's an expensive gamble.
It is, but yeah, of course it is. One way to find out. We'll never know.
I'm just not sure they've had the success they expected through the boxing. Because let's have it right. Predominantly, they went down the boxing route to launch a channel, didn't they, in the UK? You know, and has it been as big a success as DAZN would have anticipated? I'm not so sure. When you hear Joe Markowski speak, it's almost like Misfits Boxing have kind of saved them in terms of figures in the UK. So I do wonder where they are in terms of the 5-year plan in the UK. You know, they must have targets to it in terms of audience and subscriptions. They made the own goal regarding the publicity around pay-per-views are dead, to then only go and launch pay-per-views as a channel as well.
Oh, I don't know. They've stuck to their word. They've still not put a pay-per-view on yet.
Yeah, I know. But you know what I mean? That was a big own goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, yeah, time will tell. So, Matt, you come on, sleep deprived, spoke about Misfits Boxing. With all the endearment in the world, you're welcome back on again, but just don't mention the misfit word.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Like I said.
I'm going to put it down to sleep deprivation, so you get one chance, okay?
Nice.
No, all joking aside, mate, it's been great to see you. I know all things are going well, mate. All right.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, good to see you, fellas.
And then we'll catch up next week. So I'll close the show out, Andy, because I know you can't see anything on your phone, etc., etc. So this has been Last Bell Boxing. Like, comment, subscribe. Proudly sponsored by LW Lifting Limited, who offer construction site logistics solutions. We'll see you next week. Adios.